Helen and John, a young couple brimming with excitement, eagerly moved into their new home, an old Victorian house that stood with an air of mystery and grandeur. The house, with its intricate woodwork and towering spires, seemed like the perfect place to start their new life together. Little did they know, the walls of this beautiful structure held secrets that would soon unravel their reality. It wasn't long before strange occurrences began to plague their daily lives. At first, it was subtle. A creak here, a whisper there. Sounds they easily dismissed as the house settling. But soon, objects started moving on their own, and the once comforting ambience of the house turned ominous, leaving Sarah and Mike questioning their senses. While exploring the attic one afternoon, Helen stumbled upon a hidden diary tucked away in a dusty corner. The diary belonged to a previous occupant and detailed a series of tragic events that had unfolded within the house. As Sarah read the haunting entries, she realized the house had a dark history that was now seeping into their lives. As they delved deeper into the house's past, the couple found themselves trapped in a web of paranoia. The diary's revelations sowed seeds of distrust between them, and the once strong bond they shared began to fray. Each creak of the floorboards, each flicker of the lights, seemed to whisper secrets meant to divide them. The tension reached its peak on a stormy night, when a series of terrifying events unfolded, forcing them to confront the malevolent presence that had taken hold of their home. Shadows danced across the walls, and a chilling wind swept through the halls, echoing with ghostly cries. In a desperate bid for survival, Helen and John faced the entity, their fear palpable in the air. The couple barely escaped with their lives, fleeing the house that had once promised so much joy. Though they left the Victorian behind, the haunting experience left an indelible mark on their souls. Forever changed, Helen and John carried with them the chilling reminder of the darkness that lurked just beyond the veil of the ordinary. Sarah and Mike were filled with excitement as they unlocked the door to their new home, an old Victorian house that stood proudly at the end of a quiet street. The grandeur of the architecture, with its ornate woodwork and towering turrets, promised a life of charm and history. They eagerly began to settle in, painting walls, arranging furniture, and dreaming of the memories they would create together in their first home. It wasn't long before the couple began to notice strange occurrences that defied explanation. Objects seemed to move on their own, sliding across tables or falling from shelves without cause. At night, when the house should have been silent, they heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps echoing through the empty rooms, accompanied by eerie whispers that sent chills down their spines. One day, while exploring the dusty attic, Sarah stumbled upon a hidden diary tucked away in a forgotten corner. The pages were filled with the sorrowful tale of a family that had lived there a century ago, detailing their joys and sorrows. Among the entries was the haunting story of a young girl who had mysteriously disappeared, leaving behind a family consumed by grief and unanswered questions. As the days passed, the paranormal activity in the house grew more intense, and Sarah became convinced that the spirit of the missing girl was trying to communicate with them. She felt a deep connection to the girl, as if her whispers were pleading for help, and she became determined to uncover the truth behind the haunting. Her nights were filled with restless dreams, and she began to piece together the fragments of the past. Mike, initially skeptical of Sarah's growing obsession, found himself confronted with the supernatural when he witnessed a terrifying apparition of the girl. A ghostly figure appeared before him, eyes filled with sorrow, and he could no longer deny the reality of their situation. Desperate for answers, they sought the help of a local paranormal investigator, hoping to bring peace to their troubled home. With the investigator's guidance, the couple uncovered a shocking truth hidden beneath their feet. The girl's remains were buried in the basement, a secret kept for generations. By giving her a proper burial, they finally laid her spirit to rest, bringing peace to the house and freeing it from the grip of its haunted past. The air felt lighter, and the whispers ceased, leaving Sarah and Mike to finally enjoy their home, now filled with a sense of tranquility and closure. On her 8th birthday, little Emily unwrapped a gift from her grandmother, revealing an antique porcelain doll with delicate features and a hauntingly lifelike gaze. The doll's eyes seemed to follow her around the room, but Emily, enchanted by its vintage charm, placed it on a bedside table. Unbeknownst to her, the doll carried a dark history, one that would soon unravel the peace within their home. It began with subtle disturbances. A book would fall off the shelf, or a chair would be slightly out of place. At night, Emily heard soft whispers, almost like a lullaby, but with a chilling undertone that made her shiver under the covers. Her parents dismissed her concerns, attributing them to an overactive imagination. Yet the unease in the house grew palpable with each passing day. Every morning, Emily awoke to find the doll in a different position, sometimes sitting on the floor, other times facing the window, its gaze fixed on something unseen. Her parents remained skeptical, even as the occurrences became more frequent and unsettling. Emily's nights were filled with restless sleep, haunted by the feeling that she was never truly alone. In desperation, the family sought the help of a renowned medium, hoping to rid their home of the unsettling presence. The medium, upon entering the house, immediately sensed a malevolent energy emanating from the doll. She revealed that it was the vessel for the spirit of a child who had met a tragic end, a spirit now seeking vengeance for its untimely demise. As the medium prepared to cleanse the house, the doll's eyes glowed with an unnatural light, and a violent force swept through the room, knocking over furniture and shattering glass. The family huddled together, terrified as the doll levitated, its porcelain face twisted into a sinister grin. The medium, with a steely resolve, began chanting, drawing the spirit's wrath upon herself to protect the family. In a final act of sacrifice, the medium managed to trap the spirit, her life force extinguished in the process. The family, though safe, was left in shock, their home forever marked by the ordeal. The doll, however, was nowhere to be found, leaving behind an unsettling silence and the lingering question of whether the spirit had truly been vanquished. Jessica's eyes fluttered open to the unsettling sight of flickering fluorescent lights, casting eerie shadows on cracked, peeling walls. The air was thick with the scent of antiseptic and decay, a chilling reminder of the hospital's forgotten state. Her heart pounded in her chest as she tried to piece together how she ended up in this desolate place, her mind a blank slate, devoid of any recollection. As Jessica cautiously navigated the labyrinthine corridors, the oppressive silence was broken only by the distant clatter of metal and the occasional whisper of something sinister lurking just out of sight. Her breath hitched as grotesque figures emerged from the shadows, their distorted forms a nightmarish blend of human and something else entirely. Instinctively, she ducked into a nearby room, her heart racing as she pressed herself against the cold wall, praying the creatures would pass by without noticing her. In her frantic search for answers, Jessica stumbled upon a crumpled note. its ink smudged and barely legible. The words sent a shiver down her spine. She was a subject in a twisted experiment, and her survival until dawn was the only ticket to freedom. The revelation was both terrifying and galvanizing, igniting a desperate determination to escape the clutches of this macabre nightmare. Driven by a newfound resolve, Jessica scavenged the hospital for anything that could aid her escape. Her hands trembled as she fashioned makeshift weapons from broken equipment, each encounter with the mutated patients and staff a harrowing dance with death. The corridors became a battleground, her every step a calculated risk, as she narrowly evaded the grasp of those who sought to drag her back into the darkness. The climax of her ordeal came as she stumbled into a dimly lit laboratory where the deranged scientist responsible for her torment awaited. His eyes glinted with madness as he lunged at her, their struggle a brutal clash of wills and survival. With every ounce of strength and sanity, Jessica fought back, her screams echoing through the sterile room as she finally overcame her captor. As the first rays of dawn pierced through the hospital's grimy windows, Jessica emerged into the light, her body battered, but her spirit unbroken. The horrors she had faced left an indelible mark, a haunting reminder of the nightmare she survived. Yet as she stepped into the uncertain future, a lingering doubt gnawed at her mind. Was the nightmare truly over, or was it merely the beginning of something far more sinister? In 1947, the SS Orang Medan, a Dutch freighter, sent out a distress call that would chill the bones of any sailor. The message was fragmented and filled with static, but the words that came through were unmistakable. All officers, including captain, are dead, lying in chart room and bridge, possibly whole crew dead. The final haunting words were "I die," before the transmission fell silent, leaving an eerie void over the airwaves. When a rescue team finally boarded the Orang Medan, they were met with a scene straight out of a nightmare. Every crew member lay sprawled across the deck, their faces contorted in expressions of sheer terror, eyes wide open, mouths frozen in silent screams. Their bodies were untouched by any visible wounds, yet the horror etched on their faces spoke of an unimaginable fear that had claimed their lives. As the rescuers delved deeper into the ship, an unsettling presence seemed to follow them. Whispers that had no source echoed through the corridors, and shadowy figures flitted just out of sight, vanishing whenever one tried to focus on them. The air was thick with a sense of foreboding, as if the ship itself was alive and watching them, waiting for the right moment to strike. Without warning, an unnatural cold descended upon the ship, chilling the rescuers to their very cores. It was a cold that seemed to seep into their bones, bringing with it a suffocating dread and a sense of malevolence that was almost palpable. The rescuers felt as though unseen eyes were upon them, scrutinizing their every move, and a silent warning echoed in their minds to leave before it was too late. Before they could heed this warning, a dense fog rolled in, enveloping the ship in its ghostly embrace. From the mist emerged the spectral forms of the dead crew, their translucent hands reaching out as if pleading for help, or perhaps seeking to drag the living into their watery graves. The apparitions moved silently, their eyes filled with the same terror that had claimed them in life. In a desperate bid for survival, the rescue team scrambled back to their own vessel, hearts pounding with fear. Just as they reached safety, the Orang Medan was consumed by flames, a fiery inferno that lit up the night sky. As the ship sank beneath the waves, it took with it the secrets of what had transpired on that fateful voyage, leaving only the chilling memory of a ghost ship and its doomed crew.